It's time for the big conversations, telling stories of movers and shakers, of industry giants and daring professionals. It's time for the conversations that change your perspective on life. The kind of conversations that shape entrepreneurs and move careers forward. If you don't know where these conversations are found, we are sending you a GPS. But if you're listening to this voice right now, you are here. Welcome to the Growth Podcast. This is the GPS.
All right, we're back with another exciting edition of the Growth Podcast. This is episode number 38. Last week, we had a very insightful conversation with Ade around the cultural differences between Zambia and Nigeria. And a lot was said. This week on the podcast, we are going really into education. And when I say education, I'm talking about education at tertiary level. For those that are contemplating going into doing their undergrad, those that are contemplating, upgrading to a master's, maybe if you're even thinking about getting a doctorate, I think this conversation is for you, whether you're already working or you got your, qualification and, looking for employment. This conversation really will address some of those issues you may have at the moment. My guest for this week is Dr. Christine Apiri Mushibwe. She is the Vice Chancellor at Unicast University, and she will be having this conversation with us. Doc, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Nice, it's good to have you. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to our audience. Who is Dr. Mushibwe?
That's an interesting one. This is a woman who started her career as a home economics teacher.
Okay.
In the Copper Belt and particularly Mufulira district. I started as a secondary school home economics teacher at Mufulira Skills Training School. And then I moved on to Butondo, and then I moved on to Kantanshi, and then went to Mufulira High School, and then I was promoted as deputy head teacher. And which was exciting, but previously that wasn't my career. It wasn't my intention to be a teacher. Teachers never motivated me in any way. And so my career pathway, as far as I was concerned, I wanted to be a journalist, like you. I loved it. I think Golet Maplanga, Maureen Nkandu, those guys really, really motivated me. Unfortunately, it was during a period of time when parents thought journalism for women was not good.
There's no money.
Yeah, there's no money and you become a prostitute. But if you become a teacher, and especially a home economics teacher, you'll be a good wife. So somehow they forced me into the career. And that's how I ended up becoming a secondary school teacher. I really didn't like it, but I put my best to it because I didn't want to disappoint my father. And that's how I started. But then I didn't forget that wasn't my career. So I really wanted to move on from there. But I got married, and my husband, we couldn't agree to sort of like let me, go for further studies. And so we thought, let's have our children, and then we can begin thinking about further education, which worked out well because later on I thought I'm changing my career. I wasn't so comfortable, especially sitting in an office as a deputy head teacher. So that's how I went out for studies, and I wanted now to do human resource management because I thought it wasn't going to be too far from education. And I did my master's in human resource management. But there afterwards, one of the professors at the university had looked at what I had done previously and said, you can do a PhD. And I had actually been contemplating that if I go back to Zambia, what really would I do? I was already in the education system, and I thought if I was going to progress, it would really demand that my qualifications were up there if I was going to go back and be able to get a very good job. So even the human resource, when I looked at it and was able to measure, I realized I could still do a PhD in education. The human resource was still going to be very valuable because it's still human resource that you're dealing with even in education. And that's how I did my PhD in education. And thereafter, I came back. I'd worked with a university where I was doing my PhD and my master's. And I also had an opportunity of going to China and lecturing in different universities there before I came back. And I also worked with Leeds Trinity University as a researcher there. So I think that also prepared me because when I came here, I was obviously expecting not to just lecture, but because of my qualifications, I knew that was going to sort of like frog jump me. And that really happened because when I came back to the country, I started working with Unicast University, and I became the head of department there. For some reasons, I decided to leave and went to Zambia Open University, where I had a double appointment, the benefit of my qualifications, a double appointment in the Faculty of Education and the Faculty of Business. The Faculty of Business because of my master's, yeah. And thereafter, I was headhunted, and that's how I became a dean at University of Africa. And from a dean to deputy vice chancellor to vice chancellor, right there, until I joined Unicaf University in 2020. I've lectured a lot of forums, and I think I do a lot of things now because of the qualifications that I have. I think the qualifications have sort of like opened a lot of doors for me. I'm a mother. Got married to this handsome man, and we've got 4 children and 1 adopted child, and they're all big. I think I've really achieved what I really wanted, except for the part of journalism. Up to now, I still feel I would have become a very good journalist.
There's still time to go back.
I know. And yes, I've been tempted, but sometimes I'm tempted. Probably I should do law. But I'm looking at my future and how many years I have before I can retire, and I'm thinking I better do something for myself. The qualifications I have, I think, can still open me up to do a lot of other things after I retire.
I like what you mentioned about the qualifications you have and the other things that you're doing as a result of the qualifications you have. And why that interests me is because we have a lot of educated people who are frustrated. Because I think the notion is go to university, get a degree, get a job. Others have a degree, have a master's, they're unemployed. And this frustration begins to then build in them. And then, there's desperation, there's, all those things that kick in. But there are opportunities for those, as long as you have an education. There are other opportunities, consultancy, this and that. How do you think people can make better use of their qualifications as opposed to limiting your master's or your undergraduate to just employment?
I think we have a problem in the country, and that is the pursuit to acquire qualifications, to have these titles after your name. It's a good thing, and people are very proud. I've approached people probably that I had not seen probably for about 4 years or 5 years, and when I say, "How are you, doc?" they get so angry and say, "I'm no longer doc, I'm professor." And you sort of like begin to think, what really is going on? All right, yes, they make you look like superior kind of, but I've looked at the qualifications I have, and yes, they've opened doors for me. But one of the things that I speak about and I've looked at myself is that there should be a value behind those qualifications. I think if we are just pursuing attaining these qualifications for the sake of attaining the qualifications, for the title's sake and all that, then we are making a mistake. Yes, we may have a country that has got so many people that are educated with PhDs, professors and what have you, but if there's no value attached to those qualifications, the country will just be the same. I think the aim is to be able to contribute to the nation, to contribute to the workplace where you are. And people should be able to see the value. What is it that we are doing as people that have got doctorates? In terms of consultancies, for instance, you see a lot of briefcase consultants, and you're wondering, they're doing very well, even without the kind of qualifications that some people have, and you wonder what value has that qualification that this person attained had on his life or the society, the family, and all that. So I think those are things that we really need to look at. I remember when I was in school, there used to be a song. I can't remember the author of that song, but he used to sing that, "Go to school, my children, so that you can become a nurse. Go to school so that you can become a teacher." I think those days are gone. Jobs are nowhere, but work is everywhere. So people who are also attaining these qualifications should be looking at work, not jobs. And that is why we are queuing up. We have university students queuing up for jobs. Jobs are scarce. They were created by people, but work is there for us, all of us. It's about looking, and it's about looking at your qualification even before you go and attain it and find out what is it that I'm going to do with this qualification. Because if the qualification is literally just to get you a job, after that job, what next? You are stranded completely.
I like the expression that you just used, that jobs are not there, but work is everywhere.
Yes.
That's a very deep statement.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, how do I find the work?
Yes. That's where, we shouldn't base it on the fact that because you've gone to school, then you're going to find work. There are a lot of people, some that are very, very, well-to-do, and they have not gone to school. Because education should be everywhere.
Yeah.
You attend an education. Even on the bus, you can actually learn something. In the conversations, you can actually begin to learn something. So it's about how critical you are and how you begin to look around and to see what else can I actually be able to do. School is supposed to enlighten us. I'm on a platform where somebody was talking about this young man that had come up with a gadget which was able to pick soil up and I can't remember correctly, and everybody was like congratulating that young man, say, this is an innovation. It's not an innovation. It wasn't an innovation. And I'm sure if you walk along the streets in Lusaka here, you are able to see popcorn makers. The original popcorn maker is still being replicated. That's not an innovation. What we need to begin to teach is a critical mind that is able to look at something and be able to change it into something else. Add value to what we already have. But we literally just want to replicate what is already there and make our lives comfortable. It's about looking around everywhere. For instance, if we've got a lot of maize, what can we do with maize? When I was in China, I was very, very surprised that, out of sweet potatoes, they have nice chips, like the Irish potato chips that we get.
Yeah.
Not the kind that we make here, the ones that you see people selling along the roads. They are properly made. We can do so much with our sweet potatoes. We can do so much with our maize. But we are so limited to what we already have and think that is it all. And that's how we limit work, because work is everywhere, really. It's just a matter of looking and saying, I can actually add value there. I can actually do something there. And not plagiarizing what others have already done. Unless if we are adding value to what that person has done, then we are making something better anyway. So school is just about telling us information, unfortunately. And yet school is supposed to enlighten us and open our eyes and be able to see what is out there and what we can actually be able to do. There's a lot of work.
Hi. If you want to pursue your dream career, consider getting your bachelor's, master's, or doctorate degree at the brand new Unicafe campus in Lusaka. You could also get a scholarship of up to 75%. Apply now. To be honest, I think the problem is our education, not really our education system, but really the universities we have in the country. And I feel like the things that I am learning today are the same things that someone who got a degree 20 years ago learned, which then brings me to my next question, because I'd like to find out when one is choosing a university. Right now, we've got a lot of universities that are mushrooming. At every corner, there's a new university or there's a college and whatnot. And so people, yes, it's good that there's sport for choice, because it means, now education is more affordable because, universities are competing, they're reducing prices and whatnot. But then, do you think people really should question the merit of a university before they decide to go and enroll at this university? And how do I know that this university is a good university and I should enroll in this university because I will get value, not just going to get a paper? Mm-hmm. Because there are two things. Like I can get a paper anywhere.
Yeah,
I can get a degree in business administration anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you compare the quality of the individual that went through University X and the quality of the individual that went through University Y, you can tell, yes, you have the same degree, but the output in this person is different. Why? Because the university came from prepared a relevant graduate to what the country needs.
Yeah. That's very, very important. The mushrooming of universities, it's a debatable issue, like you have already indicated. Probably as a nation, we are so happy now that we've got so many universities as opposed to the 2 universities that had a monopoly. But the population has grown and definitely demands that we have a number of universities. And unfortunately, yes, like you have said, there are some universities and of which the quality is, questionable. But I think we have been blessed because we now have Higher Education Authority. Higher Education Authority is a regulatory body that is supposed to check, the standards that are going on in different universities. And if you read what Higher Education Authority is there for, when they do their audits and when they check about, on the kind of programs that we are coming up with as a university, they try to assess whether they are really relevant, and in terms of auditing, they're also checking whether the university is really relevant to be there. And yes, I think that is coming on, and some universities have been checked. Even ours has been checked, as to what value and what kind of standards we are actually operating on. However, I'm sure that we still have some universities that are below par. We cannot run away from that. But one thing that I would like to also say is I sit on panels and I receive a lot of CVs from people asking for jobs with Unicafe University. And some of them get to a point where we are almost wanting to employ them. And when we begin to check their qualifications, they have a qualification from Atlanta University. They have a qualification from, you don't even recognize the universities where they have attended these qualifications. And that's where it ends. Because when we begin to check, only to find that these universities are either non-existence, they are never there, but it's a group of people that are offering or selling these qualifications. And I know that Higher Education Authority now is going to be checking on qualifications. So even when we are submitting our programs for accreditation with Higher Education Authority, they are checking on the CVs that people have. They are checking on the qualifications. ZACWA is also checking on the qualifications. So that we've got, eligible people teaching these people that are coming into universities, and the universities are of value, and people can get what they want to get and be able to use it with value. So these are things that are happening. And, if you go online, you will find that most of these universities that are not even credible, most of them are even in the USA, So we really also need to be very careful as Zambia that we are not creating universities where people are just going to be given diplomas, given degrees, given, PhDs, or buy these qualifications. But these things you might be able to expect. But we hope that with higher education in place, such things will not be able to happen. And yes, when you come to a university, you are expecting to get a qualification that should enlighten you, that should give you skills, skills not only to go and do a particular job, but to, broaden your understanding that if a job is not found, you can still do something else with that particular qualification or the knowledge attained through that qualification.
Okay. The thing also I've noticed that has really become a commonplace in Zambia and obviously around the world is the mixing of an undergrad and a master's in different fields. Mm-hmm. So, for example, someone may have an undergraduate in, let's say, forestry from CBU, and they go and do a master's in public relations. What should I consider when deciding my undergraduate and my master's? Or would you rather encourage someone to do a master's in line with what they did at the undergraduate?
That is something that is debatable as well, because people have got preferences. But like I've said, with Higher Education Authority now, there's an encouragement that people should be encouraged. Even when we are employing, we are checking on your previous qualification, your next qualification, if there's a kind of progression that we can actually pick. Because, for instance, if you're in education and then there's forestry there, and then suddenly we see there's law there, and so it's very difficult to place you in which faculty exactly. Okay. However, sometimes it's very easy. For instance, like the example you've given, somebody did forestry and then they want to do public administration. When you're talking about public administration, you're really looking at administration, isn't it? Even in forestry, you can also be able to bring that one in. So that wouldn't be so much of a far-fetched kind of combination. I think when they are so much apart, then it becomes problematic because we don't know where to place you. What is your career? Because as individuals, we need to have a career path. This is what I want to do, and this is where I'm heading to, so that even the consequent qualifications that you are going to get, if you are going to get more qualifications, they should be able to show that there's a career progression that you are on. But if it's like chipante-pante kind of attaining of these qualifications for the sake of, then you are disadvantaging yourself in the process. So we need to be very careful as well, because now even jobs, if I were to come out of the education system and go into another profession, so to say, they'll be looking at my qualification. Who am I? Those qualifications should speak to the kind of knowledge that I have, the skills that I have. But if I'm saying, all right, me, I am an octopus kind of an individual who has all these kind of qualifications, then it becomes problematic. And so probably what you might end up doing is just becoming a consultant in all these particular fields. And I'm sure even people, when they consult with you, they will be wanting to see your profile. And they'll be wondering, really, how possible was this? So I think a kind of career progression, something that is related, is very, very good. And that is why even for our lecturers, when we are employing them, we are wanting to see that kind of progression, because then we know that you've got, this knowledge that the students would want to gain from you.
All right. And then also, I talked about the fact that we have a number of universities in the country.
Yes.
What would you say gives Unicafe an edge over other universities? Why would someone consider your university as a university of choice?
For Unicafe University, I think we are a university that is future focused. And that is what really gives us an edge. Because, the happenings of the current happenings of the COVID pandemic and all that have not offset the path of Unicafe. No, we've remained resilient ourselves in what we are actually offering. Our delivery is online, and because it is online, the physical contact of students during the pandemic period did not affect us. We continued lecturing. We continued, contacting students and dealing with students and dealing with lecturers and all that. We didn't have to begin looking for, initiatives of how do we deal with this, like a contingency plan, because our strategic plan has actually been, disturbed here. No, we remained in the normal, whilst others went into the new normal. And obviously you've seen with other universities that they've gone back, they've regressed, because COVID has sort of like relaxed. But if you look at where we are heading as a world globally, it's technology, And if you go to a number of conferences, you hear what people are saying, that the future of education now is in the home. And how is that going to be done? It's through what we are doing as UNICA, because people are already learning from their homes. People are already learning from the comfort of their offices. You don't need to leave where you are to go into an institution and stay there until you're finished. You still are able to do a lot of other things. And I know that this mode of teaching is still problematic with the undergraduates, because there's still this whole thing of wanting to go into a university and feel that, aspect of being in the university. But the future of education now with technology is going to be in the home. The home is going to be the place where there will be more gadgets than you would actually find in the learning institutions. So we are actually in line with technology itself. When you're talking about G4, we are actually there. We are not far away. We are actually moving alongside what technology is demanding of what the future is going to be. So I think that is what really gives us an edge. And I know many other universities are trying, but I think we are much, much above them.
All right.
Yeah.
One of the other concerns when it comes to education is this thing of you do a degree, an undergraduate degree, let's say at Unicafe, then they tell you if you want to increase your chances of getting employed, you go and do your master's at another university. Mm-hmm. And that it's not a good idea for you to have a degree and a master's at the same university. Do you think it really hampers one's prospects of getting employed when you do your undergraduate and master's at the same university?
I don't agree with that. I've heard, yes, a lot of students, when you're talking to them, that, you've finished your master's, can you come back for a PhD, looking at what you've been able to do and all that. And then, no, I'm going to do my PhD with another university just to get, that kind of feel of another university. And it's really someone's preference. If they want to ensure that they've got qualifications from different universities, it's really their preference. Otherwise, it's a qualification. It's the same thing, It's really, I don't think as an employer, I'll be looking at, oh, so you were at UNZA, oh, so you were at UNILAS, oh, so you were, no. I think it is the value of that qualification. What have you been doing with this previous qualification that you attend? If there's literally nothing, because even in interviews, that's what we are looking out for. It's not necessarily answering an A or ticking boxes. No, it's about checking whether you have got the skills we are looking out for, whether you've got the knowledge that we want you to use in this particular job that you have applied for. So where you attend that qualification, unless if it is a university meal, which just offers qualifications and you pay them, then it becomes problematic because you will not be employed. But this whole thing of I need to attend my qualifications from different universities, I don't think it really has value. If the university where you are is able to give you the qualification, well and good. I did my top-up degree with Huddersfield University. I did my master's with Huddersfield University. I did my PhD with Huddersfield University. I'm not disadvantaged.
Okay, Doc. The other thing I want to find out from you is, and I did mention this to you earlier, some people make the decision to pursue a master's based on certain things they're going through in their life. So, for example, sorry, I'll keep using the forestry example because that's
no problem. It's a good one.
Close examples to me. So, for example, I go and do an undergraduate in marketing. Mm-hmm. In Zambia, jobs are hard to find. We've established that. Then God blesses me, I get a job, for example, at Zafiko, forestry. And while I'm applying my trade there in something unrelated to my marketing, and then I begin to see opportunities in that organization related to forestry. And then I say, you know what? I think for me, my master's should be in forestry. So I've got a degree in marketing, and then I decide to make a decision because I've seen that, okay, there are jobs, there may be a manager position or director position, but for me to get it, I need a master's in forestry. So I'm making a decision to get a qualification, not because I'm seeing my future 10 years from now, but because I'm seeing what's happening in this organization. Do you think there is wisdom in thinking like that? It may not be forestry, it may be anything else, but deciding to get a master's because I've seen a promotion in this organization. I
don't think that is very wise. I don't think it's wise. These qualifications we're attending, I don't think they're coming on a silver plate. Probably you might say that Unicafe, you are offering scholarships, and all that. So if someone says, I can get a scholarship with Unicafe University, still it's time that you would have wasted, when you could have done something that is related to what you are doing. I think this whole career confusion and attaining of qualifications, because that one, you see somebody, she's got a degree, I can also get it. Or she's got a what? I think it's the same wisdom could be applied to somebody who just jumps from here to there. You don't end up anywhere. You are a jack of all trades and a master of none. I think it's better to be resolute, where you sit down and assess yourself. Where do I want to find myself in 10 years' time or in 5 years' time? It might not even be in that particular company, because now, in careers, you are the driver of your own career, but you need to be wise as to where you are driving to, because you might end up hitting trees and probably, over the cliff, and that is the end of you. There are people who end up reaching their career apex, and that is the end of them. Probably right there, you might begin to think. Sometimes I advise my friends who are in marketing to say, after you've finished with your marketing, what else will you be able to do? And that's why you've seen that in universities now, we've got people that have come from the industry, and we are just asking them to be able to do a methodology, because we don't retire in education. We continue teaching, we continue with many other things that we can be able to do. So I think it is suicide for somebody to begin to go for a qualification because they can actually see that Dr. Mushibwe is growing old and very soon she might die or retire. But there must be wisdom, really. If you've got longevity in that organization, probably. But now, especially these private organizations, you're on a contract. You don't know whether your contract is going to be renewed or not.
Yeah. Hi guys, a life-changing opportunity is waiting for you. For only 1,700 kwacha per month, you could get a globally recognized MBA from Unicast University. Unicafe combines the best elements of online learning to deliver superior educational qualifications. Apply now. I was talking to you earlier about some people have got some concerns, like fears about upgrading their education, like getting a master's and whatnot. Because I was telling you about a friend of mine who is forced to, she has a master's, but she is forced, when she applies for a job, to hide the fact that she has a master's for fear of being judged to be overqualified and overlooked for that particular position. So she has a master's, but she deletes it from her CV, doesn't mention it whatsoever in the job interview, nothing. Because she fears if I put that I have a master's, they will say I'm overqualified, they'll give someone else a job. And also others are holders of undergraduate, but for the longest time they can't find jobs. So they say, what's the point of me going to get a master's?
Yeah.
And then also, do you think there is wisdom in someone who has an undergraduate degree? 2 years down the line, I've been pushing for a job, I can't get it. Is it wise for me to start doing a master's when I haven't even worked with the degree I have?
Maybe to start with the last one. If I've not been working and I'm not making any money, whose money am I going to use?
Unicafe is giving is giving scholarships.
We'll give you an 85%, but there's still an amount that you need to pay, you know. So you begin to inconvenience other people simply because you want that particular qualification. It's really dicey and it's very unfortunate. And I understand. I've seen a lot of students that have told me that they don't want to talk about their undergraduate qualification, or they don't want to talk about their master's qualification because they have failed to get a job. And that's why I said at the beginning that, you know, jobs are hard to come now. They are really, really hard. And it will require people to begin to create jobs. And creating jobs will mean people need to do work, you know. We need to make sure we find work. We look around and we've got work and say, all right, I can do this work. Then you create a job. And that is why I see the president is talking about entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurs are innovators, are creators. These are people who are, you know, imagining and dreaming really, really big about what they want to do. And now there's support to do that. Then they can begin to also employ others. So then there is job creation. Otherwise, if we don't find work to do, then there will not be jobs. We will remain looking out for jobs, and jobs will never be enough. I'll give you an example. You see, in the olden times, before people began migrating from the villages coming to town, those that were coming to town, they were looking for jobs, not looking for work. In the village, there are no jobs. It's just work, and people are surviving. And that is why we really need to begin thinking about that. You know, when Mianda came up with the village concept, people laughed at him. But it was an idea of going back there and creating work. We would have had so many jobs even in the rural areas now. But we are still stuck here and wanting to, you know, find jobs when there are no more jobs. What we need to do is to find work and be able to create jobs. So in terms of answering what you've just asked, yes, people are hiding their qualifications now because you read an advert and they're saying experience, 5 years experience, and you've not had that. You have not worked. And then you look at, you've got a master's, and again we check 2 years, and you have not done any job, so to say. It's very, very unfortunate. One of the things I think in line with what the president has been talking about is internships. I think as a nation we need to begin to look at internships very seriously, because when we begin to allow people who have gone to school and they've got qualifications and they can come and do some internship, some of them are not even demanding any money. And yes, if you can give them something, like here, if someone says, I'm actually wanting to do something like what you're doing, and can I intern here? We need to be able to allow them. Companies should be able to allow them, you know, because then they are also attaining some skills, some experience of some sort, and probably you may end up employing them, you know, and probably with them around and them being very innovative, them being very creative, they might actually be able to create some more work for you. You see, because these are intelligent young people who are probably stranded because of the nature of our education. We might not even be doing a good job, probably even at university level, because at university level, we don't have the careers department. The school level, we are expecting a careers department so that people are guided in terms of the kind of subjects that they are doing to go in line with the kind of career progression they want. But I think even at university level, we need to be advising people, even when we are enrolling them. The unfortunate thing is, it's money we're also looking out for, because most of the universities are private, and we run our universities not based on the grants from the government, but from the amount of money that we are raising through research, through the students and all that, and consultancies. So it's an unfortunate situation that we are in, and I don't think it is only here in Zambia. Probably the whole lot of Africa is going through the same thing. Nigeria, for instance, Ghana, for instance, you've got a lot of people that are qualified and are at the market. And we need to get to know that we can create a job and be at the market. This whole idea of let me go to school so that I can get a job and put my jacket over the chair is long gone. We can have marketeers with qualifications. What is the problem? We're expecting them to do a much better job at the market, because they've got the knowledge, they've got the know-how, they've got the skill. I see a lot of people, when I'm driving, there's this young man who sells tomatoes in plastics. And I was saying, if I'm going to have a class one day in marketing, I'm going to bring him to teach some of the master's students. That boy is excellent, because we have them. And when you ask about his qualifications, like you are saying, he's got a degree, but he's selling tomatoes along the road. I've read of somebody in Kenya who is selling eggs, along the road. I think they should do it better than these women that are selling eggs, probably that do not have even any form of education. So if I am going to go on the street and sell fritters, I should do it better than a person who has not had any education.
You mentioned that your university is purely online.
Not purely. We also have face-to-face classes.
But the majority of it is online?
Yes, the bulk of it is online.
Okay, because I wanted to ask, then how do you offer support to students? Because most of them would rather have that in-person interaction when they're having a problem, for example, or when they want to see a lecturer. How do you offer support to students when the classes are online?
So in terms of support that the students may need of us, there are a number of ways. Through the VLE itself, the virtual learning environment that we have, which is a state of art, and it is not disrupted by the electricity load shedding, and all that. It's hosted by Amazon, and so interruptions are actually quite rare. So we also have what we call the Student Help Center, where students are able to, to log in and be able to ask whatever questions or complaints that they have, they're able to log it in. And then the conversations that go on, the interaction that go on with the students and lecturers on the virtual learning environment, that also provides, a forum for students to be able to, to get help and support wherever they need it. And through the other platforms that we have on social media and all that, students are still able to contact the university. I'm on LinkedIn, and I have got some of the students that are still able to ask questions, even on LinkedIn, not necessarily from me, but many other members of staff. And we are in the process of actually coming up with a counseling website, trusting that even through that counseling website, we can be able to attend to students who have got problems, emotional problems, in terms of their studies and all that. So these are things that we are now doing in the world, I think globally, because of the technology. You cannot leave out the element of support to the students. It's something that is crucial to us.
Okay. Yeah. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was asking her, when I'm starting your master's, and she tells me, sometime later, right now, I'm just trying to focus on getting short courses, what and what. Do you think that short courses are important? Like, a short course in digital marketing or in project management or in monitoring and implementation of those things. Do you think those really make someone a saleable candidate for a job?
They should. No, they should, because, when we're talking about 2 years within, somebody has not been able to get a job, I think those short courses should be able to help. These short courses are supposed to sharpen the skills, to keep you in check with what is going on. They should be able to help you increase your knowledge. Because if you stay without doing anything, I think by the time you get a job, you'll be dated. Things would have moved on. So when you're doing these short courses, it's not necessarily even for people probably who are not in employment, but even for people who are in employment, even like myself, I do a number of short courses because I'm sharpening my skills. I'm keeping myself up to date with the current knowledge. things are changing at a very fast rate. And if we remain dormant and don't do anything, then we actually die out and we are left behind. And for instance, like those that are in academia, research is one of those important things that we have to do, because then through research, we are able to get engaged and be able to see things where they are heading to and be able to improve ourselves. You don't research, you don't read, you die.
Unicafe's support system was excellent. Any questions I had, any issues I had, virtually imagine, were responded within 24, latest 48 hours.
Interesting. And then also, the other thing I wanted to find out is when it comes to, like, you are a doctor, you got a doctorate. Like I said already, people with masters feel like I'm overqualified. Would you encourage someone to do a doctorate when there were no plans of going into academia?
Again, I would say that it's personal preference, because I've talked to people and I've told them, I don't think you need to do a doctorate. And they're like, because you have a doctorate yourself, you people, you want to limit people from attending some of these qualifications. It's really personal preference. But I think we need to apply a lot of wisdom. Do we really need this qualification? Because you may just get that qualification and end up probably in a university where you are getting, as a vice chancellor, you are just getting as good as an amount that what a lecturer is getting. And it's literally nothing, because there should be value that is added to that particular qualification. And if it's not there, why go and get the qualification for the sake of getting a qualification? So if there's something, there are certain professions, like those in law, if you count the number of people that are in that particular profession and have got PhDs, there are not so many. Talk about professors, there are not so many. But in academia, there is a reason why we need that, because we are the people that are providing the qualification, the skills, the knowledge, and all that. So we need to be seen to be moving up, even in terms of our qualifications. And even the students. I remember going to China, and the first time that I went there, my head of department was telling me, when you get into class for the first time, you need to tell the students what qualifications you have. Otherwise, they will look down on you and they will not listen to you. You see? And even here, you find certain students to be talking about, why are we being taught by a lecturer who doesn't have a doctorate? So students feel like they may not have the superiority that is expected of them as they are teaching. And that is why even Higher Education Authority now is demanding that if you are teaching a master's program, you need to have a doctorate. If you cannot have a master's and teach another person at a master's level. So they are trying as much as possible to inject that standard also in our universities here in Zambia. But for these other professions, I don't think it is really a must. It will depend upon the wisdom that one uses if they really want to do a doctorate.
My question, I think I'm asking on behalf of people who are odd and they're working in these organizations. You find someone got their degree in 2000. And 23 years later, they've never upgraded, no short course, nothing. So I got a degree, and I'll use marketing this time. They got a degree in marketing, and the marketing landscape has changed. And they are overseeing this, pool of young people who just graduated 2-3 years ago, and there's that mismatch because the person the things you learned are obsolete,
Yeah.
What would you say to such?
Go back to school. Go back to school and come to Unicafe. We've also got short courses. So I think, you see, that's the disadvantage of just being dormant. Whilst you are sleeping, other people are up there reading and upgrading themselves and improving themselves. I think we really need to be sharp and to be wise as to, what's my future like. Let's not just think about the now. Let's also think of the future. Like now, we're supposed to be thinking of where is Zambia going? Where is Zambia going? And I know at certain times we tell students, like, the area where there's so much demand is law. And so you find people who are not even supposed to be in law are going into law. Or no, the area where there's so much demand is nursing. And find people who are not even supposed to be in nursing are heading for nursing because they're employing there. And then only to end up with people who have literally no skills, who have got no passion. And, care is not one of the things that they are supposed to be doing. Even teaching, we've seen it in schools, where students are not getting anything from a teacher who supposedly is supposed to be in school, but is preparing, is it chimpampira?
Yeah.
So we really need to be wise with who we want to be and where we are actually heading to. It's not a laughing thing. I think it's something that people need to be serious about and look at their lives, because the nation is wanting people to, to improve the economy of the country. So if we think we can improve the economy of the country with qualifications, then I think we are not thinking correctly. I think it is what kind of skills are we really getting? Skills that are going to develop the country. If it is in fishing, what kind of skills? If it is in farming, what kind of skills? If it is in mining, what kind of skills? So that even at university level, we are supposed to be looking at these qualifications, these requirements. We've got a lot of minerals. And I think we should be seeing a lot of programs in that area so that we've got people that have got the acumen to be able to know exactly what to do, instead of every time the president has to go out of the country to go and look for specialists who can determine whether this is gold, whether this is a diamond, and things like that. The same with roads. Why should we be, getting people from outside when we've got engineers who can actually do the roads? So we need to be able to equip ourselves. So it shouldn't be a matter of just gaining a qualification. We need to look at what industry is in Zambia and what skills are lacking and why do we need these different types of programs.
Thank you very much, Doc. Anything else that you'd like to talk to us about before we say our goodbyes?
Probably the last thing I would be able to say is I think people need to try Unicafe University, especially the Zambians. A number of Zambians have got doubt as to whether Unicafe is genuine, whether, how can you just be at home and learn? This is the future of education. And wherever we are, when we're dealing with a phone, whether it is a tablet, whether it is a laptop, that is telling you that this is where education is going to. And that is why we've got a lot of information now online. So if we got information online, why not enroll with a university that is futuristic and offering you education in the things that you love to do, surfing, and all that online? We are a university that people should be looking out for. We are the university that is offering the kind of education that is futuristic. So I would like to urge the Zambians, try Unicafe and you will not be disappointed. We've got a lot of examples of students that have been, offered jobs. I know I'm talking about looking for work, but people have found their jobs because of the qualification they have attained through Unicast University. And they've got scholarships, So come and get a scholarship for yourself, 85%, 75%, and you just pay the top up and they are able to get a qualification. But make use of that qualification, add value to it, and let the country benefit from that qualification you've attained.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you so much.
All right, I was talking to Dr. Christine Pire Mushibwe, the Vice Chancellor at Unicast University, Zambia. Where do people find Unicast, first of all, in terms of
we are in
Facebook? Are you?
Yeah. We are on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. I think we are everywhere. Just
online.
Just go online and you'll see Unicast prompting you to click on the button there. So we are literally everywhere. If you want to visit us, we are in Long Acres. We are building actually in Roma, just near Zambezi Mall. We are building there. We are putting up a state-of-the-art campus, and we will be moving there, I think, by end of this December. So we are not like there is no university. We are just in the air or in the crowd. No, there is a physical university where we work from and are able to support our students from. So please try Unicast University.
Thank you very much, Doc. And thank you to you for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much. Yeah.